So I said I wasn't going to queue up for another game of Paladins until they removed Cards Unbound. And they did. So I started playing it again. Then I noticed that they had added quite a few heroes because it's been a lot longer than I thought since the last time I played Paladins. So I decided to check out some of these new champions, and Vivian actually caught my eye because I noticed that she was another, I guess, humanoid type of archetype type of person that basically just had a gun. You know, they have Victor, Tyra. I guess Ash kind of counts. She has good too. She has all the armored stuff, so she is kind of. Anyways, they have Vivian now, so yeah. So I decided to check out Vivian, and she's the best way I can describe playing as Vivian is, well, that, I guess. But in all seriousness, yeah, Vivian, her moveset is very, I don't want to say, like, I want to say it's like kind of standard as far as, you know, as far as being compared to some of the other champions. Her kit is very, very simplistic, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because, you know, she can either be played as an offensive character or she can be played as a very, very offensive character. That's pretty much what that is. So basically, here's what her moves look like. So her left click is her light machine gun. So it pretty much does what you would expect it to, and it fires exactly how you would expect it to fire, like a light machine gun, and it feels like a light machine gun. It's just like, the only way I could think to describe just shooting stuff with Vivian is just satisfying. It's just really, really satisfying, you know? And her right click is very similar to Victor. It's a aim down the sights type of mechanic. So that basically just increases your accuracy. So from what I understand, it increases your accuracy, zooms in a little bit, and it also reduces recoil. So, I actually did a couple of tests in the shooting range. One of the things I like to do before I jump into a game with a new champion that I've never played before is just get into the shooting range and just kind of mess around a little bit. I noticed that they did change the shooting range around a bit. They took that big kind of tower structure out of the middle, which I kind of like because it wasn't really doing much. It was there, you know? So it's kind of nice to have that open kind of like courtyard type of thing so you can test your mobility techniques and all that kind of stuff for certain champions. Anyways, I was just kind of messing around in the shooting range, and I noticed that the recoil for her light machine gun is very vertical. It's vertical, and you kind of have the chance occasionally for it to either like jump to the left or the right. Basically what I did was I just aimed at a certain point on a wall, kind of where like a line was, so I kind of knew like where I was aiming, so it was very apparent where I was aiming. And then I lifted the mouse off of the mouse pad, and then I just held down the left click button. And as you can see from the footage, it's ever so steadily, it's steadily, but kind of fairly rapidly climbing up and ever so upwards. And you kind of get those jumps to the left or the right. So her recoil is actually really pretty darn manageable. And so actually I find myself hip firing a lot if I'm in a pinch, if I absolutely have to. Most of the time I'm using those precision sights though, and they really do help. She does pretty decent damage. It's 170, and even with the steeper drop off, because another thing I noticed when I was kind of testing her recoil is that it resets like completely to like where you were aiming originally. So as you can see, as soon as I stopped firing for a significant amount of time, the crosshairs reset. So that was a really interesting mechanic. So that's kind of something that I thought I'd share with everybody, so you guys can keep that sort of thing in mind moving forward, because that kind of just adds a little bit more to her being able to manage that recoil better, because her rate of fire for her primary weapon is not amazing. It's not like she's no Tyra, obviously. Like, very few people fire that quickly. I mean, maybe Talus, but I don't know. I don't really play as him much. I noticed that he was one of those new additions, too. I haven't checked him out at all. There's a lot of champions I haven't checked out. But anyways, her rate of fire isn't insane, but she could put out some pretty solid DPS if you know what you're doing. And pretty much what I mean by know what you're doing is if you are a competent, first-person shooter. So she kind of seems like one of those characters that's more kind of just to attract people that are just more into the standard, like, straight-up, like, first-person shooter type of experience, because Paladins, let's face it, Paladin does have a little bit of a very, very light touch of MOBA in it, just with, the techniques you can use and stuff like that. But anyways, that aside, we have the items and stuff like that too, and whatnot, but very light. So her 2, well, it's for the here's how I like to play Paladins. I actually play with an MMO mouse, so I'm not sure what the original keybind is, so forgive me. I'll put it in the description below. But my keybind is 2. I assign the techniques to the number keys, so I can just have access to all of them just right there, just on my thumb, because it's a lot quicker than trying to move around with WASD and then trying to hit the letter keys. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a pain in the butt, but I just found binding them to the number keys and then binding those number keys to my MMO mouse, it's just a little bit quicker, it's a little bit snappier, it's a little bit easier. So anyways, so her 2 for me, for my particular setup, the 2 is a sensor drone. Now this is a pretty cool little utility. Basically it does what you think it would do. It's kind of like a motion sensor or a proximity sensor. So what you do is you throw one on a wall, or on the floor or on the ceiling or whatever, and it detects enemies within a certain range, and they basically just show up on your HUD. They just kind of like get illuminated. It's kind of like I guess a wall hack, for lack of a better term. That's essentially what wall hacks do. They just kind of highlight the silhouette of the people so you can see them through the wall. So that's pretty much what it does. And that's also, but it's also a mechanic in the game too. It's when something's revealed, it will basically like reveal your enemies. So moving right along, we have the deflector shield, which is her defensive technique, and this one actually got nerfed before I got a chance to try the original one. I guess the deflector shield had a bit more health. They decreased it by a couple hundred, I think 400. Don't quote me on that, I'm not entirely too sure. I'll have a link to the patch notes for the most recent patch as of this video, because there have been quite a bit of changes, and it's been a while since I've played. So, and lastly, her ultimate, which I have bind to number key 3, is the Sentinels. Now this one, oh goodness, this ultimate it's kind of crazy. So basically she spawns 2 little drones, and they kind of hover off to her left and her right, and they will, as long as you're firing, they're firing one shot. It's one shot every second, and yeah, these things can be pretty devastating. They deal 200 damage per shot, and each drone has 1200 health. And I believe they nerfed the health of these drones too, because it got a little crazy. I guess she was fairly bit more OP when they had more health, and then also the deflector shield. And to be honest with you, some people feel like she's still OP. Some people feel like she's still a strong damage character, which she is. She's a damage character. I don't know, she's probably I feel like she's going to be a very popular pick for damage. Especially for those people, like I said, who are more used to first-person shooters that are not necessarily of this flavor, caliber, brand, I guess. For people who aren't exactly into or used to hero shooters, that they'll find characters like this and Tyra and Victor a lot more accessible, which is kind of why I like them, because sometimes I just want to get into a match and shoot stuff. So moving right along, I actually played a couple of team deathmatch I played a couple of matches in the Team Deathmatch playlist, which consists of 2 game modes, I believe. 2 that I've played anyways. There's just straight up Team Deathmatch where it's the first to 40, and then there's also an Onslaught mode, which consists of, basically think of it as payload mode, but without the actual payload. There's still kind of like an area you have to occupy for a certain amount of time, only that's it. That's the objective. There's a big square kind of area and you have to go into it. As long as you have team members in it, if you're all on the same team, as long as you're in it, you're accumulating points, and it's the first to 400 points, I believe. And if there are enemies in the area, then it's being contested, so I don't believe anybody gains any points at that point. So that's where kind of the madness ensues, because you got to get the other team out of the area in order to gain points. So that's where all the shooting happens. So it's pretty frantic, it's pretty fun. It's actually really kind of nice being able to play these team deathmatch kind of modes, because whenever I try to play like a siege type of mode or something like that, it seems like a lot of players kind of want to prioritize shooting the other team as opposed to pushing the payload. I know there are certain roles that are meant for pushing the payload, but it's one thing to have certain roles for pushing the payload, and it's another thing to just have all of your characters just scatter in all different directions, chasing each other around and just not focusing on the actual game mode that you're playing. So anyways, like I said, that's what I've been playing lately, and it's just been kind of nice because everybody is on the same page basically. So as far as Vivian's legendaries, or I guess they call them talents now, they're all pretty useful, and they all change up her gameplay significantly. Her first one is Suspect Everyone, and basically her and her deployables take 20% less damage from enemies when revealed by the sensor drone. So that's pretty useful. That adds a little bit to the utility and gives you kind of a reason to use those sensor drones. You also have Opportunity and Chaos. So this one's actually a pretty beefy talent. What it does is, as long as you're firing continuously, for after 2 seconds. After 2 seconds of firing continuously, you gain 20% increased damage. So she has a 70 round magazine, you guys. It's 70 rounds, so she can shoot 70 rounds continuously. It used to be 80, but they decreased it to 70, and it still feels like a lot. I feel like they might nerf her a little bit more in general. I'm not sure, because I don't know, because there are definitely ways to counter her, but that aside, I don't want to get too sidetracked. So that 20% damage increase, pretty nice. And then Booby Trap, this one's actually my personal favorite. So what it does is it actually it turns your sensor drones into proximity mines, essentially. So as long as when an enemy comes within 20 feet of it, it explodes and it does 500 damage. So this is like my bread and butter for team deathmatch, with those team fights where there's like a choke point, I guess it's called, just kind of like just when everyone's all grouped up together, I'll huck one of those, and then I guess I don't know what it is, but I hit so many people with this thing because they're all focused on shooting the other team, or they see it and they think it's like a slow mine or something, or they think it's just a sensor thing that's not going to actually hurt them, but then boom, there's the 500 damage. So that's a nice little burst. So if I can get my sentinels out and if I start throwing those booby traps as soon as that cooldown hits, as soon as the cooldown is over, as soon as it's available, then that just so much burst damage, you guys. So much consistent damage too, especially with the sentinels firing. She's just throwing she's just the machine. It's kind of weird. She's kind of like a cross between like a tank and a damage sort of, but she doesn't have like a crazy amount of health really. She has about the average kind of damage health. It's around 2,000 something, I believe. But anyways, that aside, gotta finish this up. So sapper rounds. So you deal 150% increased damage to shields. So that's just kind of like built-in wrecker. So that's nice. So that's very nice, especially if you are going up against somebody who have really strong shields, like a Makoa, a Fernando, what have you. yeah, so those are all of her moves, and like I said, my personal favorite is the booby trap, because yeah, just all the damage. So it looks like the card loadout system is back, the one that we all know and love anyways. I hear it was messed up for a while. For a bit, I think you were able to put all your cards up to level 5, which that just sounds like a mess. But anyways, I'm glad that it's back, and I think it used to be 12, didn't it? I think it used to be 12, now it's 15, so hey, whatever, I'm not complaining. So here's my deck that I've made, and yeah, let me explain my kind of mindset behind this. So the first one is Contingency, which adds 400 health to my deflector shield. So that brings it up from 1400 to about 1800. Just adds a little bit more kind of survivability to my shield, because as long as my shield is taking damage, I'm not taking damage. So, and then in addition to that, I also have Unfair Advantage. That's, I feel like this card might get nerfed or removed, because it's called Unfair Advantage. Anyways, so it increases your deflector shield's lifetime by 5 seconds. So by default, it's 6 seconds. So that is 11 seconds, I believe. Wait, hold on. Let me check. The deflector shield is, yep, is 6 seconds. So you deploy your shield for 6 seconds by default, but with this card, it adds 5 seconds to it. I have it maxed out at level 5, so that gives me, math, 11 seconds of deflector shield. Now, that's where this next card comes in. So I think I just got really lucky with this, I guess, hand that I built, or this deck that I built, because I got the increased health of the deflector shield, then it lasts for 11 seconds, but then on top of that, it also heals me for 80 health per second while deflector shield is active. So if my deflector shield isn't taking any damage and I need to get, healed, or if I even just need to kind of top myself off, keep myself topped off, then I'll just pop the shield if I'm down halfway, and then I'll just kind of start to move away from the fight, because here's the thing with Vivian, you can kind of play as her from either kind of like the mid range, but you can also play as her from like the back lines too. I mean, she does have a bit of a drop off as far as her damage, but you can still be pretty accurate considering that. And it's pretty cool. So you don't do as much damage, but you can still be a little bit farther off, so you can just pop the shield, heal up. And then on top of that, I also have runic ammunition. So what that does is it heals me for 15% of the damage that is dealt to my shields. So that's why I gave my shields a little bit more health, because that also, so whether I'm just having my shield deployed, or even if my shield is taking damage, I'm getting healed from it. So this is a pretty strong self-healing build, I think. So I'm actually, I'm wanting to stick with this deck, because it's just a really strong one, and it just adds a lot of survivability. And then, so I'm editing the footage right now, and I'm just noticing that I misinterpreted the runic ammunition card. I was thinking for some reason it heals me for 10% of damage that is done to my shield, but I should have known, because it said runic ammunition, meaning like bullets, like my bullets. It heals me for 10% of damage that I do to someone else's shield. I just wanted to point that out before I continue, because that was a really silly mistake to make. Either way, I stand by the fact that this is a pretty strong self-healing build, especially for a character that's really not a healer. It's more of an offensive character. So, I mean, this is definitely a great team deathmatch type of deck. I don't know. I mean, it probably worked in siege mode too. But anyways, I just wanted to point that out before we continue. Anyways, back to the main chunk of the video. And then just the last card I have in there is One Step Ahead, and it increases my movement speed by 5. She doesn't have the most movement speed. She's actually fairly slow, kind of, if you're kind of walking around, moving around on the map. But with this card, it kind of sort of softens that a little bit. I mean, you can also, maybe grab a nimble, but honestly, with her ultimate, maybe you want to maybe like the morale boost, or whichever one increases your ultimate gain faster. That one, or nimble possibly would be a useful one, or maybe swap this card out for another one. I think there's another card that actually increases her movement speed when she deploys a drone or sensor drone, so I might swap that one out just for a quick little speed boost, so I won't, that would kind of eliminate the need for getting a nimble card, I guess. Here I am kind of theory crafting again as we speak, as I record this. So I'm actually gonna wrap it up here, you guys. I just kind of wanted to get on real quick and talk a little bit about Paladins, because it's just been a really long time since I've played. And yeah, I was kind of trying to do something fancy and all like edited together, all beautiful, like I was Rain Day Gaming or something like that. But yeah, I feel like I do my best work when I'm kind of rambling. Either that, or I just kind of go completely off the rails and I just kind of lose track of what I'm talking about. But anyways, before I do that, I'm going to wrap it up. Let me know if you guys out there, if you guys are still playing Paladins. Do you guys, are you happy with the fact that Cards Unbound is gone? Do you not like it? Do you want Cards Unbound back? And if you do, I demand to know why. Also, if you play Paladins, what do you think of these new champions? Have you played as Vivian? Have you played as any of the new champions? Have you even unlocked any of the champions yet? I don't know. Honestly, I got the Founders Pack way early on. It was like $20 when I got it. I think I told someone it was $30 like the other day, but it was actually 20. I looked back and it was $20, and you know, it's a lot of champions now, you guys. There's a lot of champions now, as you can see. So, you know, that $20, it just kind of eliminates that part of the grind. So I don't know. I'm kind of a Founders Pack kind of guy. If it's a game that I really like anyway, then Paladins is one that I've always really liked. And I was kind of worried about it for a minute, especially with the Cards Unbound. It kind of felt like it was sort of getting pay to win. And yeah, I was just really concerned for a while. So now I'm not. Now I'm not concerned at all. I think the Paladins that I know and love is back. And yeah, I'm ready to play some more of it. Probably TDM. Probably for the most part. More than anything else. I don't know. Siege mode. I feel like that's kind of one that you kind of need to like organize and actually have a team of people on voice chat on Discord if you want to play it and be effective. I don't know though. So anyways, I'm gonna get out of here for real now, you guys. I'll see you in the comments section. Till we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other. Do something heroic today, game on, and demand something better out of life. This is NeroTheHero signing out. Peace.